The NA-EU rivalry is as old as League of Legends itself, and thank goodness we get to see it tested again in the Rumble stage of MSI 2021. Seriously, if Cloud9 had lost on Tuesday, I don't know what I would have done, but it wouldn't have been pretty.
No, God!
Europe has held the upper hand for a while now, and the Mad Lions came into MSI as favorites to maintain that trend. But are Cloud9 good enough to reclaim North America's honor? Let's look back at the group stage to get a read on which team looks stronger right now, starting with Cloud9. The easy story to tell about C9 at MSI so far is a terrible first round robin followed by a dominant turnaround for the second round robin, but that's not entirely fair. C9 actually hung in against Damwon Kia reasonably well in their first game, and their 1-2 record in the first round robin mostly came down to simple individual mistakes. That's a relatively easy problem to solve compared to fundamental issues like misreading the meta or having giant holes in their macro. C9's turnaround was mostly based on reducing their mistake count, and that allowed them to beat Damwon the second time around and win out in the second round robin to advance. In Group B, the Mad Lions were fortunate to escape the first round robin 3-0. A loss to the Fastpay Wildcats in the second round robin denied them a perfect group stage record, but Pain Gaming had already been moments away from finishing Mad's Nexus, and that could have changed the entire tone of the group. In the end, Mad were able to rely on their team fighting and some good Baron focus to push through to the Rumble stage. So both teams had their highs and lows, but who put up stronger numbers? Advanced gold metrics point to Mad. They posted much higher gold percent rating, meaning the average gold lead or deficit they played with, and higher gold spent percentage difference, which captures margin of victory or defeat at the end of the game. And when you remove the last Cloud9 vs Infinity game, which had no influence on the standings, the gaps get even bigger. Mad also posted the second best early game rating in the tournament so far, averaging a 69.1% win probability at 15 minutes. Obviously, C9 and Mad didn't play against the same opponents, so we should adjust our interpretation of these numbers based on their strength of opposition. Mad were the Pool 1 team in their group, which is an advantage the LEC has earned. It's not a stretch to say that PSG Talon, the Fastpay Wildcats, and Pain Gaming were a weaker set of teams than Damwon Kia, Detonation Focus Me, and Infinity Esports, but honestly the difference wasn't that pronounced. DeadFM looked a lot stronger than expected, but so did Pain and the Wildcats, and Damwon played a little below expectation. All things considered, C9 had a slightly harder group, but not enough to heavily warp the comparison. Since each team only played 6 games, averages can only tell us so much. Win probability curves can give us a really interesting way to look at what happened inside each game. When we chart out the win probabilities for Cloud9's games using a custom statistical model I've developed for Oracle's Elixir, we can see that the early game told the story in most cases. In their first 2 games, they fell behind early and never climbed above the 40% mark after the first 10 minutes. But in their second match against DeadFM and the last write-off game against Infinity, they were well ahead before 10 minutes and closed out pretty smoothly. The most interesting line on this chart and the most interesting game C9 played was their second game against Damwon Kia. The game was back and forth, with C9's win probability dropping to around 30% at 12 minutes and below 20% at 31 minutes, before the final upswing that saw C9 close the game out. The big takeaway is that C9 have some work to do to fix their early game, but even if they fall behind, they do have the potential to make comebacks, even against strong opponents. On the Mad Lions front, we've got a lot of steep lines going both directions. As we've already seen, their early game was a strong point, but they dropped the ball repeatedly in the mid-game and made things really difficult on themselves. They managed to get back in control in most cases, and they showed that they could make comebacks even when their early game didn't work out. But they're definitely going to be working on those mid-game issues, because teams like Damwon and Royal Never Give Up are going to make it way harder to recover if they keep making the same mistakes. All things considered, the Mad Lions came out of the group stage looking a little better than Cloud9, but not by a wide margin, and C9 are on a pretty positive trajectory. Right now, this actually looks like probably the closest matchup we've had between the top teams from the LEC and LCS in quite a while.
These days, everybody's talking about Wild Rift this, Wild Rift that. And you know what's actually wild? The amazing performance you can get with Alienware computers with NVIDIA graphics cards in them. You can go check them out over at alienware.com/Travis, and you can use Travis10 off to save 10%. Also wild that you can do that. They've got some fantastic stuff, including the Alienware M15R4. We love Alienware. Thank you so much for sponsoring my content, and we'll catch you next time.